Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 13th and tonight's movie is Run. That makes you think of the meme with that AWOL Nation song that goes, Run. I learned about this movie last year when I watched Missing, which was the spiritual successor to Searching. This is a movie that was actually directed by the same person who directed Searching, Anish Chaganty. It was also written by Chaganty and Sev Ohanian, who were the two writers for Searching. The plot of Run is that you got this teenager who's wheelchair bound and being cared for by her mom. The mom seems like a helicopter parent, sort of overbearing, though not necessarily like strict or abusive, but even so, there apparently is some evidence that she's been lying to her daughter. And the possibilities of what those lies could be to amount to like her like purposely drugging and disabling her daughter so that she becomes physically dependent on her. That sounds like a very Stephen King kind of story. I'm pretty sure he's done that a few times. The actress who plays the mom is Sarah Paulson. I recognize that name. I recognize her face. I cannot tell you one single thing she's been in. I don't really know what this has to do with Searching. Apparently it takes place in the same sort of cinematic universe, but I also feel like this could very well have just been its own movie. The name of the movie is Run for the same reason that Get Out is called that. That's the sort of warning. Run. Get away from there. Except it's a little cruel in this case, considering the person who would be running is in a wheelchair. All signs are pointing to this being like a Gypsy Rose Blanchard kind of situation. I'm expecting a lot of gaslighting and emotional manipulation in this movie. I'm gonna go check it out. So, I loved Searching. Searching was a 10 out of 10 for me. I saw it again recently. It is just as good as I remember it. This movie is not Searching. Searching kept me guessing until the end. Run, I could pretty much guess how every scene was going to go. There are some good elements in it, most notably the two very strong performances of the leads. Overall, I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Also, two things occurred to me pretty much right now. To begin with, there's no compelling reason as to why this movie is called Run. It kind of just feels like they didn't have a name by the time the project was over and they just had to come up with one right away. And also, I couldn't remember one single thing linking this to Searching. Like in Missing, they at least referenced the first movie with like a true crime show or something. There was none of that, or at least none of that I could remember in Run. And again, with a movie that had such a clever story, Searching, the same people made this movie, and after seeing the trailer and like 1 minute into the movie, I was able to correctly guess the big plot twist. And no, the plot twist is not that the mom is committing Munchausen syndrome by proxy. That is the premise of the movie. That's not the twist. And I'm not even counting that as a spoiler or a reveal. That is the plot of the movie. That's not something they're interested in hiding from you. But that also does mean the main character of the daughter, Chloe, spends an awful long time coming to a conclusion that we as the audience could figure out almost immediately. I actually really liked Chloe's character in this movie. The actress they got to play her, who actually is in a wheelchair in real life, did an amazing job. Chloe's a great character. She's funny, she's smart, and she's strong-willed. And then we also got the role of the mother, played by Sarah Paulson. I spent the entire movie thinking, am I absolutely certain that it's not just Emily Blunt? And I looked it up. That's not just me. There's like a meme about how Sarah Paulson, Emily Blunt, and Adele are all secretly the same person. But anyway, this is quite the role, playing a sort of Annie Wilkes type character, and Sarah Paulson was more than up for the challenge. I don't know if I ever really considered her to be scary, but she certainly did have a presence. So we do have a strong hero with Chloe and a strong villain with Chloe's mom. The biggest problem with Run is something I mentioned already. The plot is almost exactly how you would predict. There was only one story beat that legitimately caught me by surprise. And also, just like Weapons from yesterday, at the last possible second they added something that was entirely unnecessary and mean-spirited. It actually felt way more out of place in Run than it did in Weapons. Weapons wasn't exactly a nice movie. This one was trying to go for a good, happy ending. So, while the plot isn't exactly spectacular, I do like the screenplay, I like the script. One of the lines was actually legitimately funny. There was a point where Chloe was trying to talk to a pharmacist, but there was a line, and she talked to the person in the back of the line saying, hey, can I get in front of you? And then he said no, but then he turned and looked and saw she was in a wheelchair, and then he said okay. So then she just started wheeling forward saying, "Excuse me, pardon me, I'm in a wheelchair, feel sorry for me." And that's a joke that would have been in poor taste if anybody besides Chloe made it, but the fact that she's the one who said it actually does make it funny. I really don't know by what grounds they put this in the same series as Searching, because the two movies are very different. I can understand Searching and Missing being connected. What does Run have to do with either of them? I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to attach themselves to a much better movie, at least in my opinion. I thought that Run was okay overall. It had some highs, it had some lows, but it wasn't really something special the way that Searching, or even to a lesser extent Missing, was. It's not a movie that's going to really surprise you, but if you're interested, I wouldn't recommend against it. Alright, now I want to talk about a few spoilers. The big twist that I was able to guess, like, 90 seconds into the movie, was the fact that not only is this woman abusing her daughter by making her think she has various illnesses, including leg paralysis, that's also not even her baby. At the very beginning, you see, like, the mom resting after giving birth, and you see the doctors tending to the baby, who is very, very premature. And you see her ask, is the baby going to be okay? And then there's a pause, and they, like, move on, but obviously the unspoken implication is that the baby will not end up okay. And I remembered seeing a death certificate in the trailer, so I immediately thought, okay, she stole another baby and raised it as her own. And that is exactly what happened. And the way that it was revealed was honestly kind of dumb. There was a point after an escape attempt where the mom, like, locked the daughter in the basement, and for some reason, knowing that she was going to leave the daughter unattended in the basement for hours at a time, she not only left the mail that she was, like, stealing, that was the college that the daughter wanted to go to, accepting her so that she thinks that the daughter would never have to leave to go to college. She was homeschooled her whole life. She left that in the trash, and of course the daughter found it. She also, in, like, a box just sitting on the shelf, has, like, the entire file of her crime. It's not just, like, the death certificate and also pictures of Chloe when she was a toddler and could still walk. There was also literally just, like, a printout of the headline about the child being stolen from the hospital and a picture of the parents. Like, realistically, there is no reason why she would want or need to print that out. So then the mom comes back, and that leads to the one part of the movie that genuinely did surprise me. Chloe, like, locks herself in a closet, and she seems to, like, be at a really bad position. But then she looks up at the shelf, and I noticed there was daylight filtering in from the top, and I thought she was gonna try to make an escape there. But no, actually. She does something so much bolder than that. She grabs a bottle of pesticide from the shelf, looks at her mom, says, "You still need me," and then drinks it, knowing that the mom would have no choice but to take Chloe to the hospital. That is a gutsy move. I was not expecting something like that in this movie. And at that point, the mom has completely lost control of the situation. It's only a matter of time, and eventually, yes, she does get caught. She does lose custody of the daughter. And then we get the ending, which I thought was very out of pocket. It cuts to 7 years later, and Chloe is, like, visiting her mom in prison, and she's telling her about her life. She's, like, a prosthesiologist now, and she's married, and she has kids. And then at the very end, she, like, hacks up the same, like, dog muscle relaxant that she had been giving her to make her not be able to move her legs, all wrapped in plastic, and says, "Open up to her." Was she doing this the whole time? Is this just, like, a one-time petty thing? I can't for the life of me find out the end goal with that. And for a movie that up until then had been fairly easy to predict, that was very confusing. Overall, Run is like an okay movie that doesn't seem to have anything to do with Searching. And if anything, the comparison made this movie look worse because Searching kept me guessing. This movie was pretty easy to read. But if you look at it on its own, it's not bad. It's just not great. Alright, thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.